It was the summer of '97, and Lisbon was a city high on its own fumes. A sweet, intoxicating blend of sea salt, roasting chestnuts, and the ever-present dust from the construction that seemed to be happening on every corner. We were on the cusp of the Expo '98, a grand coming-out party for a country that had for too long been a quiet, forgotten corner of Europe. There was a palpable thrum of optimism in the air, a feeling that we were finally stepping into the light. My own life, however, felt like a series of half-finished sentences. My name is Tiago, and back then I was a student at the Universidade de Lisboa, studying geology and nursing a romantic heart that was perhaps a size too big for my own good. My days were spent in labs, peering at rock formations and learning the long, slow history of the earth, and my evenings were a blur of cheap Vinho Verde with friends in the Barro Alto, the sound of our laughter echoing through the narrow, cobbled streets. It was on one of those balmy July evenings that I first saw her. Her name was Sophia. She was sitting alone at a small wrought iron table outside a tiny family-run tasca, the soft glow of the street lamp catching the silver of her earrings. She had a cascade of dark, unruly curls that framed a face that was both strong and delicate, with eyes the color of dark honey that seemed to hold a universe of stories. She was sketching in a small notebook, a half-finished drawing of the ancient cobblestones beneath her feet. I, who had always been a hesitant creature in matters of the heart, felt an uncharacteristic pull, a force as undeniable as the tectonic plates I studied. I walked over, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs, and asked, in what I hoped was a casual tone, if she was capturing the city's foundation. Her smile when it came was like the first rays of dawn breaking over the Alfama district, slow, warm, and utterly captivating. Our courtship unfolded against the backdrop of a city in bloom. We wandered hand in hand through the labyrinthine streets of Alfama, the soulful notes of a distant Fado guitar our soundtrack. We shared quiet moments at the Miradoro de Senhora do Monte, the city sprawling beneath us like a glittering tapestry. We took the clattering, old-fashioned tram to Belém and ate pastéis de nata, the warm custard and flaky pastry, a sweet counterpoint to our burgeoning love. Sophia was unlike anyone I had ever met. She was fiercely intelligent, with a quick wit and a passion for the natural world that matched my own. She was a florist, working in a small fragrant shop near the Jardim de Testrela, a riot of color and life. She would spend hours explaining the language of flowers to me, the subtle meanings behind a bouquet of roses or the simple elegance of a lily. She spoke of her dreams of opening her own shop one day, a space that would feel less like a store and more like a garden, a small oasis in the heart of the bustling city. But there was a shadow that flickered at the edges of her light, a sadness that would sometimes settle in her eyes when she thought I wasn't looking. She spoke little of her family, only that they were from a small traditional village in the north, and that they held different values. The first sign of trouble came in the form of a Sunday lunch. Sophia had, after much gentle prodding from me, finally agreed to introduce me to her parents. They lived in a modest but immaculately kept house in a quiet suburb, the air thick with the smell of polished wood, and something vaguely medicinal. Her father, a stern, wiry man with eyes that seemed to miss nothing, greeted me with a limp, perfunctory handshake. Her mother, a woman whose face was etched with a permanent look of weary resignation, offered a tight-lipped smile. The lunch was a stilted, uncomfortable affair. My attempts at conversation were met with monosyllabic answers. They asked about my family, my studies, my prospects. My answers, which had always seemed perfectly respectable to me, appeared to fall short of some unspoken standard. After that day, a subtle shift occurred in our relationship. Sophia became more distant, her laughter less frequent. Our walks in the city were punctuated by hushed, tense phone calls with her parents. The weight of their disapproval was a tangible presence, a third person in our once intimate world. The breaking point came one crisp autumn evening. We were at our favorite spot, the Mirador de Santa Luzia, with its beautiful azulejo panels depicting the city before the great earthquake. The last rays of the sun were painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. "They want me to come home," Sophia said, her voice barely a whisper. "They've arranged a marriage for me, to a man from our village, a man with prospects." The words hung in the air between us, heavy and suffocating. I looked at her, at the woman who had filled my world with such vibrant color, and saw a stranger. Her face was a mask of despair, her eyes pleading with me to understand something I couldn't possibly comprehend. "But what about us?" I asked, my own voice sounding small and childish to my ears. "What about your dreams?" The flower shop, a single tear traced a path down her cheek. "Some things," she said, her voice choked with a grief that seemed ancient, "are not for us to choose." And just like that, it was over. There were no dramatic scenes, no shouting matches, just a quiet, devastating acceptance of an ending that had been written long before we had even met. She left Lisbon a week later. I didn't go to the station to see her off. I couldn't. The years that followed are a blur of muted colors. The optimism of '97 faded into the quiet hum of everyday life. The Expo came and went, leaving behind a futuristic landscape that felt alien to me. I finished my degree, got a job, and tried to piece together the shattered fragments of my heart. I still live in Lisbon. It's a different city now, more polished, more global. But sometimes when I walk through the old neighborhoods, I'll pass a flower shop, the scent of roses and carnations spilling onto the street, and for a fleeting moment, I'm back in the summer of '97, a boy with a heart too big for his chest, falling in love with a girl with a universe in her eyes. And I'm reminded that some heartbreaks, like the city of Lisbon itself, are built on a foundation of beautiful, haunting ruins.